surface you're on really doesn't affect whether or not you get injured. What's the main reason why people get injured? Too much too soon. The other thing, I'm going to say things as they pop into my head. Never, ever, ever blame your shoes for your injury. There's so much commotion lately about the whole Vibram stuff, and every shoe company has a minimalist running shoe. And I get asked every single day of my life, what do you think about barefoot running? What shoe? What I think about them is that people are blaming the shoes when their real attention for their injuries should be on their training. Shoes do not make you injured. If the most effective way to land on the ground when you're barefoot is mid-stance, because your body's really smart to do its most effective, right? Why would we think that when we put shoes on, all of a sudden our bodies become stupid? Maybe hitting the heel first when you're wearing shoes is the most effective way for you to land on the ground when you're wearing shoes. What's most important is where the foot lands when it's placed on the ground in relation to your center of gravity. We're going to do that in a minute. It doesn't matter as much. You don't want your heel to land like that, obviously, because why? That's just stupid. But does it matter if the heel lands a millisecond before the rest of the foot? No. What matters is where that foot lands in relation to your hips. You want them directly under your hips. You don't want them out in front, because then you're braking, and now your body has to decelerate and then accelerate over that brake to the next step. You want to be rolling from one step to the next. So the shank of your foot should already be coming backwards relative to the ground as it's placed on the ground. So you're pawing the ground. Anybody have a cat? Pawing the ground. The minimalist shoes, they have a place. They have a place, but don't just buy them and then go run 5 miles the first time. That's just stupid. Wear them for 1 minute the first time you buy them. 1 minute, and then put your regular shoes on. Next time you go out and run, wear them for 2 minutes, and then put your regular shoes on. You have to be systematic. That's the other reason why people get injured, because they're not systematic about how they apply the training stress. You have to be systematic. What's really not? What's your question? Well, in that case, I might be the shoe. Buy shoes later in the day. Your feet swell a little bit from running. Buy shoes later in the day, preferably after you've gone for a run. There should be a little bit more room. If you're getting those toes, that means they're hitting up against the front of the shoe. Or they're rubbing up against each other. So make sure there's room in the toe box. Especially if you're going to run a long race or something, make sure there's room up in the toe box. So if you swell, there's still room there. The shoes should have a little bit of room there. They should still feel comfortable. Shoes should feel comfortable the first time you wear them. You don't have to break in running shoes. They should feel comfortable right away. Okay? What other question? Yeah, right here. Very good question. If you're running less than about an hour a day, it's better to do it in 1 run a day. And actually, I have an article, if you read Showrunner Magazine, I have an article coming up, I think next month, about 2 runs a day, when you should do that. But once your runs start to get more than an hour a day, then there's some benefit to breaking up the runs into 2 a day. Because it's always less stress. You always want to spread the stress around. So if you're running like 70 or 80 miles a week, that's a lot to do in 1 run a day. But it's easier physically to handle, it's also easier psychologically to handle a 4-mile run and a 6-mile run than even just 1/8. Even though 4 and 6 is 10, those 10 miles is still physically less stressful than the 1 run of 8. It's also psychologically less stressful. To do a 4 and a 6, that doesn't seem much. But to do 1/8 seems like a lot more. So I only recommend breaking up the runs into 2 runs of the day. Once your runs, so like for a pretty good runner, once you're starting to run more than about 50 miles a week. But once your runs are averaging, about an hour a day, every day, then you can, maybe once or twice a week, break up the run into 2 runs on that day. do that for your long run, especially if you're training for a marathon. Because you have to run 16, 17, 18 miles all at once. There's a reason for that. You don't want to lose the reason for that. Because if you break up the long run into 2 runs, then you're not going to get glycogen depleted unless you just don't eat the rest of the day in between the 2 runs. So you have to do the long run as one long run. Does that make sense? That's really fun. Question?
I want to go back to when you were talking about form and your heel, your forefoot, your midfoot strike. Are you saying then that the body, everybody's different, and that what is most efficient is what you're probably already doing?
Very good. Very good, yes. Unless you have some really aberrant biomechanics, your body is going to do what's most efficient for it to do, because your body's pretty smart, right? It doesn't want to get injured. So your body's going to do what's most efficient for your body. But some people have just such weird biomechanics they need some correction. But most people are already going to adopt the style of running that's most efficient for them. So unless there's something really weird going on that's going to cause you to get injured, like you run like this all the time, unless you do something really strange, don't play too much around with your running form. Having said that, running is a skill just like anything else. Just like you have to learn how to play tennis, you should also learn how to run. So there's some skill involved in learning how to run correctly. Once you learn how to run correctly, then there's less chance of you getting injured once you start to undertake the massive amount of work you're going to take to run a race. Question? You got to get started.
Can you talk to us a little bit about sprinting?
What do you want to know? I love sprinting. I started in this sport as a sprinter. What do you want to know?
When you were speaking about the energy cycles and training less like at max, like sprinting, and doing more volume as opposed to doing sprint intervals. So if I'm training a runner to be a sprinter.
Yeah, so everything I just said, ignore it all. Because sprinting is a completely different animal. Sprinting is about power output. So then it is about intensity. It's not about volume, it's about intensity. If you read, growing up, Carl Lewis was my big idol in track and field. I loved Carl Lewis. Not that one, different. But Carl, there are very few athletes in the history of sports who held such a presence on their playing field. Maybe Wayne Gretzky, maybe Michael Jordan. But Carl Lewis stepped on the track, and the respect that he garnered, I've never seen that in any sport. And if you read Carl Lewis's autobiography, he talks about his workouts. One of his workouts is he belonged to the Santa Monica track club, and he ran with a lot of elite runners. One of the workouts he did was 5 times 200. That's it, just 5 200s with 5 minutes of recovery in between. They ran them almost all out. So they were running in about 21 seconds. Carl was under 20 seconds. We were in 1975. But they would run these 200s in 21 seconds, take 5 minutes recovery, and then do another one. And that was the whole workout. 5 times 200. That was the whole workout. Would take like 15 minutes. Sprinting 5 times to about 21 seconds. And then he talks about in the book, they called it a breakdown workout because it would break you down. It was so intense. But that's the way sprinters train. They run really fast for a few seconds, then they go hang out at Starbucks for a half hour. Then they come back and sprint really fast for a few seconds, then they go and lay around for another half hour. And distance runners always laugh at sprinters because distance runners are always moving. Even the recoveries are active recoveries. So sprinting is a completely different animal. That's why sprinters have more muscle mass, because more muscle means more power, more force produced against the ground. One more question, then we get started. Yeah, so ultra running is another whole different animal. Ultra run, you got to go on 5-hour runs, and you got to eat chocolate cake while you're running, and all these. You ever read the book by Dean Karnazes? He orders pizzas while he runs. But you have to do that because of the enormous caloric expenditure. Doing all that running. God, I wish we had more time, because now it is time for the second half. This is now intermission. You read your program, real quick. Yeah, actually, I don't have you all got to do this book. My books are in the car. I have to be careful about being a salesman idea. My books are in my car downstairs. If you want the women, running for women, which just got 2 weeks ago, I have the cars in my car downstairs. The books in my car downstairs.
And you'll sign them?
Yeah, of course I will. I love signing. So this is the way we're going to do this, because because there's a lot of people